Hi, it's James from the Mid-Pacific ICT Center in San Francisco with Mark Conway from NetApp. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
Tell us a little about NetApp.
Well, NetApp, I think as you know, we're a storage data management company. We're headquartered here in California, down in Sunnyvale. This last year, I guess, well now it's 2013, last year we just passed a little over 12,000 employees, so we're growing. We're about a $6 billion company, and you know, this whole movement around virtualized infrastructure, shared infrastructure, big data has really been driving our business. So that sweet spot for us is in storage, big data, and cloud computing.
Yeah, which is smoking hot right now. This explosive growth in technology and adoption, and huge need for workforce that can do that kind of stuff.
Well, you know, at the conference over the last 2 days, I know you presented some statistics, and it seems each of the sessions that I've been in are talking about sort of the skills gap and the demand that's happening around cloud and virtualization computing, and you know, the need for workers who have that understanding the technologies, the terminologies, and to able to work in that space. And we hear that from our customers too, that there's a shortage of that expertise. So I think it is a booming space for us from a business perspective. And what we're starting to see, I manage NetApp's Academic Alliance program, and this month, actually next week, will be the second anniversary of our program. Mm-hmm. And we're really seeing traction. I think there's a growing awareness. Almost if you pick up any of the industry papers, they're talking about big data and analytics and the explosion. And I think there's a realization that storage, which we might argue for a while had been a little bit of the forgotten stepchild in terms of a technology focus, is getting a lot of interest from schools and professors at this point.
Yeah. And so in your role, I guess, you represent NetApp's efforts to try to develop workforce through academic institutions. You're pushing out training resources and assistance in developing a workforce in partnership with educational institutions.
I mean, really, I guess one of our key goals is just as you say, is ideally would be to generate a pipeline of talent that can go out and feed, I guess, what we would call the NetApp ecosystem. You know, maybe some of these students might come to work for NetApp. Maybe they would go to work for our customers or for our partners. And you know, we see the demand out there, but that shortage in skills. So what we try to provide to faculty are teaching resources, curriculum, virtual simulators, other kinds of technologies or resources that they can very easily integrate into their curriculum. It could be that maybe if they wanted to develop a course, a standalone course or a focused course on enterprise storage, we could provide resources for that. But where we've seemed to have gotten the most traction is where a professor's teaching an existing course on networks and data communication or introduction to computer information systems, something like that. And what they want to do is add in 2 or 3 weeks worth of content focused around storage. Mm-hmm. And so hopefully what we do is make it easy for faculty to adopt and infuse that content into their courses.
That's wonderful. I'm sure they appreciate that assistance because this field is so broad and it's moving so fast, it's really hard to keep up with. And you know, resources and assistance that help them do their job is greatly appreciated. Well,
I think the you know, one of the feedbacks and one of the things that we hear from a lot of schools and from the students as well is that you know, a lot of the materials that we might provide, whether they're technical papers, white papers, analyst studies, you know, probably might be 6, 9 months, maybe a year old, but they're pretty current. Whereas just because of that pace of change, as you mentioned, you know, a textbook that was written 3 or 4 years ago is probably 50% or more out of date. And so that the currency of the materials, I think it makes it more relevant for the students. And you know, what we see is kind of shifting alliances. We work with companies like VMware, with Cisco, with Teradata, and some of the technical partnerships that we have there, we're trying to keep the schools and the students abreast of. You know, if you're designing a private cloud as an example, you need to have a networking infrastructure, you have a virtualization partner, and a storage foundation. And what we're working towards is to pull together those sort of pieces of the puzzles, or those three legs of the stool, so that that gets delivered in a more holistic curriculum, I guess.
One of the things I love in this environment is the way marketplace competitors come together in a congenial way and sort of throw in together, because we all have this common need to develop a technical workforce. NetApp isn't going to be successful, and VMware isn't going to be successful, and Cisco is not going to be successful unless customers can actually install and operate the systems and solutions that you create. So we all have to throw in together somehow. This workforce need is so great that we have to do something about it.
It does. There's a term I'm sure you've heard, co-opetition, whereas with one of the companies you might be selling against them on a Monday, and with VMware that happens to be majority owned by one of our main competitors, we might be going to market with them on Wednesday. So it can make for strange bedfellows. And but I kind of position what we do sometimes is enlighten self-interest. And I would hope that through some of the resources that we provide to the schools and to the faculty, it allows them to provide a better learning opportunity, some hands-on experience, and it's going to make the students more marketable, hopefully to get them a job, if that's what they're looking for. But at the end of the day, that's going to drive business for NetApp and grow the pie, I think, is to your point. It's going to grow the pie for all of us. So,
right.
You do see these interesting collaborations, I guess,
Well, I'm sure we have programs and teachers who are interested in learning more and engaging with your effort. How do they do that?
Well, certainly probably one of the main ways would be to reach out to myself, Mark Conway, at NetApp. My email is mark.conway3@netapp.com, and they could certainly reach out to me there. If they went to our Academic Alliance page on our website. And I think one of the exciting developments that for the program that we have is we're just announcing here at the conference this week, and we'll be rolling out over the next month, is a new entry-level certification program. It's called the NetApp Certified Storage Associate. NetApp has a series of certifications that we deliver to our own internal systems engineers, to our partners and our customers. But even the entry-level one that we had was, unless you had 12 to maybe 12 months to 24 months worth of industry experience, it would be a difficult exam to pass. So what we've developed is a new entry-level certification that's specifically designed for college students to take. It's all web-based. The classes are all web-based. There's a virtual lab component. You would sit for an exam with Pearson VUE as to get the final certification. And I'm hoping that we'll be formally announcing that next week, January 7th, so there'll be a press release on that. Hopefully folks could look for that. And so for folks that would be interested in the Academic Alliance program in terms of maybe just bite-sized materials that they would like to incorporate into their curriculum, we have that. And probably starting next week, a more formalized package curricula around this certification that colleges can either offer as a supplement or actually integrate into their curriculum. So we're hoping for a great uptake. We've got a number of, I guess, early adopters of pilot schools lined up, but we're eager to hear from other folks as well.
Very exciting. Anything else you'd like to share?
Well, I think that's it. In terms of maybe the last pitch. I think the one thing that I've noticed from a year ago when you and I spoke is I think a lot of times when I would speak to schools around storage and talk to faculty, there wasn't quite an understanding of how important storage is in terms of the expense of IT, in terms of the challenges that CIOs or IT operations were facing. And I think that's changed over the year, that the whole focus around big data has made a splash in the media. And so the idea of, how do you store all of this data? We've done projects at CERN, for instance. Some of the One of the exciting areas is we're doing a lot of the storage back end for the Jet Propulsion Lab for the Mars rover. So, you know, you have these large petabyte cases of storage. And I think there's an awareness that getting students familiar with storage is an important component to rounding out their IT education. And it's an exciting spot, and hopefully it will continue to grow over the next couple of years.
A lot of people don't seem to get it, but I read an article last week estimating that in the next 8 years, by 2020, we will produce 5,700 gigabytes of data for every man, woman, and child on Earth. So who's going to deal with that data?
Yeah.
You know, we need to be growing that workforce right now if we're going to handle that in a responsible way.
Well, you know, the growth that we see, these statistics, you know, study after study just talks about the volumes and just how fast it's growing. And I think, you know, from NetApp as a storage provider, our mission or intent is how do you capture, store, and manage that data. But the real challenge is how do you extract value from it?
Exactly.
So if you capture all of that data and it just sits there, it
So
really
what?
becomes a burden on a company.
Yep.
And what we're seeing is almost like this inflection point of, you know, how can you use analytics or other technologies to extract value from that data and use it as a competitive advantage for the business rather than an expense. And I think that's for a lot of students in academic programs would be the excitement is you need to understand how do you ingest, to capture, manage all that data, but the real impact is going to be how do you pull value out of it.
This is a big change. It's exciting. Appreciate everything that NetApp is doing to develop these technologies and get them out in the world. Appreciate everything you're doing to help us develop the workforce who can use these technologies to advance our society. Thanks for being here.
We appreciate what you do for the conference. It's a great event.
All right.
Thanks, James.